What if I told you that the difference between looking like a 1990s mid-level accountant and a modern creative director comes down to exactly 1/4 of an inch of fabric?
I mean, it sounds totally absurd when you put it like that,
Right.
but in the realm of menswear, a quarter of an inch might as well be a mile. It completely shifts the psychology of how people perceive you.
Yeah, it really does. I want you, the listener, to picture a very specific scenario for a second. You open your closet, you push past all the clothes you wear every single day, and you just stare at it.
We all have one.
Exactly. You know the one. That incredibly high quality suit you bought years ago, the one that cost an absolute fortune at the time. You can feel the quality of the wool, the stitching is flawless, but when you actually put it on, it just it feels like a costume from a previous decade.
Oh, yeah. It's boxy. The pants pull around your ankles.
Yeah, and instead of walking into a room feeling confident, you feel completely dated.
It is an incredibly frustrating yet completely universal experience.
Right.
I mean, you are looking at a garment of objectively high value, right? But because the proportions no longer communicate the right visual message, it just gathers dust,
Yeah, and your first instinct is probably to just throw in the towel, bag it up, donate it, and go drop another $1,000 on something brand new.
which is painful.
Super painful. But hold on, because today we are taking a deep dive into a comprehensive guide titled Modernizing a Suit, alongside some really cool insights from styling platforms like Apparelizer. Our mission today is to dig into the actual mechanics of tailoring.
Yes, the real nuts and bolts of it.
Right. We are going to explore how taking that seemingly outdated suit to a skilled tailor can completely re-engineer the garment into a contemporary statement. So, okay, let's unpack this because this isn't just about fashion, is it?
Not at all. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is something we all really need to understand, especially when we consider the sheer economics of our professional wardrobes.
For sure.
The reflex for most people is immediate consumption. My suit looks old, therefore I must buy a new suit. But from a purely financial and, frankly, sustainable perspective, that is often the worst possible move.
Well, let me challenge that right out of the gate, though, because we live in an era where I can just go online, type in my measurements, and get a made-to-measure suit delivered to my front door for, what, a few $100s?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I have a suit from 15 years ago, why on earth would I spend $200 at a tailor trying to salvage it rather than just buying a brand new modern suit for slightly more? Like, why not just buy a new house instead of renovating an old one?
Because of the raw materials, honestly. The guide actually points out this really fascinating reality about the garment industry.
Okay, what's that?
Older suits, especially the high-end ones from a decade or two ago, often utilize wools and internal construction methods that are incredibly expensive to replicate today.
Wait, really? So the old stuff is actually better?
Oh, absolutely. The sheer weight and drape of vintage fabrics is just superior to a lot of the fast fashion, synthetic blend suits you'll find online for cheap.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so you aren't just saving money by altering. You are preserving a level of craftsmanship that is becoming increasingly rare.
So it's less about just salvaging an old piece of clothing and more about taking an incredibly high quality raw material and updating its geometry, keeping the good bones, basically.
Exactly, keeping the good bones. Plus, altering gives you something that buying off the rack or using a cheap online algorithm almost never does, which is a true custom fit.
Right, because it's tailored specifically to you.
Yes, tailored specifically to the unique topography of your body. An off-the-rack suit is cut for a mathematical average. It's a compromise. A tailored suit is cut for you.
That makes perfect sense. So if we are going to start reshaping this garment, I guess the logical place to begin is the largest surface area, right? The torso.
Yep, the macro silhouette.
Right. The source material spends a lot of time talking about this, specifically how older suits have these notoriously boxy cuts. Why were they so boxy to begin with? I never really understood that.
Well, it was largely about the psychology of power dressing back in the 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s. Yeah. The cut was intentionally voluminous.
Voluminous, yeah, that's a good word for it.
Shoulders were heavily padded, and the waist had almost no suppression.
Suppression meaning it didn't taper inwards at the ribs.
Correct. The jacket just fell straight down from the shoulders to the hips,
Oh.
like a tube.
Right, exactly.
The visual goal at the time was to project mass and dominance, which resulted in a square block of fabric. But as the guide outlines, modern tailoring totally rejects that blocky look. The modern approach requires a silhouette that actually follows the natural anatomical shape of the wearer.
Right, so the tailor will take in the waist, reduce the excess fabric around the torso, and refine the side seams. But let me play devil's advocate here. Look at what Gen Z is wearing right now out on the streets. The pendulum has swung completely back to massive, baggy, oversized everything.
Oh, definitely.
So if I take my beautiful classic suit to a tailor and have them hack away all that fabric to make it a slim fit, aren't I just permanently altering an expensive garment for a trend that is already dying out?
That is a very crucial distinction to make. We really have to separate trendy skinny fits from timeless sartorial balance.
Okay, break that down for me.
The guide is not suggesting you turn your classic suit into a skin-tight, shrink-wrapped garment. Nobody wants that.
Nobody can breathe in that.
Right. The goal is a balanced silhouette.
Hmm.
Taking in the waist to create a subtle V shape, what we call the V-taper, is mathematically proven to flatter the human form, regardless of your actual body type.
So it's about the ratio between the shoulders and the waist.
Precisely.
Correct.
It's rooted in the golden ratio.
Huh.
You want the fabric to drape cleanly without pulling, without creating those awful X creases at the button.
Ugh, yeah, the dreaded X crease.
Yeah, but you also don't want it billowing around your ribs either. It is about honoring the natural lines of the body. The oversized look of the past simply swallowed the wearer whole.
So you were wearing the suit, but the suit was wearing you.
Exactly. When a tailor removes that excess negative space around your torso, they aren't making you look skinny, they're making you look structured and intentional.
Okay, I see the difference. It's about structure, not suffocation. But here's the physical reality of that. If you dramatically slim down the visual weight of the jacket, you can't just leave the bottom half of the suit untouched, right?
No, absolutely not.
Because if you have a beautifully tailored V-tapered jacket and you are walking around in wide-leg parachute pants, the entire illusion just collapses. You look completely top-heavy.
Which is why the next necessary step is fundamentally redrawing the geometry of the trousers. Tapering the trousers is not just a style choice. It is mathematically necessary to balance the newly fitted jacket.
Makes sense.
The guide notes that a tailor will actually open up the inseam and outseam of the pant and narrow the leg opening. This creates a gentle, funnel-like taper from the knee down to the ankle.
And a massive part of that trouser geometry is the break, right?
Yes, the break is crucial.
The source mentions adjusting the break length, which, for those listening, is how much the pant leg fold or creases above your shoe. Older suits almost always featured a full break, where these large amounts of fabric just pooled and puddled around the ankles.
And visually, what does that pooling fabric do?
Well, it makes you look shorter. I mean, if I'm looking at someone, my eye wants to travel in a clean, unbroken line from their waist all the way down to the floor.
Exactly.
When there is a massive puddle of fabric at the ankle, it acts like a visual speed bump. It interrupts the eye's journey and abruptly cuts off the leg.
That is a fantastic way to visualize it.
Mm.
Modern styling leans heavily toward a half break or even no break, where the trouser hem just grazes the top of the shoe leather.
Right, just a clean line.
Yeah, by removing that puddle of fabric, you restore that clean, unbroken visual line. You instantly look taller, sharper, and just way more put together.
All right, so we've addressed the macro. The torso is suppressed, the pants are tapered, the foundation is completely solid. But the guide makes a really fascinating pivot here.
Yeah, it zooms way in.
It does. It suggests that even if the waist and legs fit perfectly, there are tiny microstructural details on the edges of the suit that act as immediate giveaways of its age. Here's where it gets really interesting.
The edges of the garment are where a good tailor truly proves their worth. Let's talk about the sleeves, because this brings us back to your opening question about the 1/4 of an inch.
Yes. The guide states that modern styling dictates showing approximately 1/4 to 1/2 inch of your dress shirt cuff beneath the jacket sleeve.
Yep.
But if your jacket sleeves entirely cover your shirt cuffs, or worse, if the suit fabric is bunching up at your wrists, it just completely ruins the aesthetic. But why? Like, why does our brain actually care about a fraction of an inch of cotton?
What's fascinating here is that it comes down to visual weight and framing.
Framing.
Yeah. A suit jacket is made of heavy wool. If that dark, heavy fabric extends all the way down and swallows your hand, your arm looks like a heavy, undefined stump.
It gives off major, I borrowed my dad's suit for this job interview energy.
Exactly that. It sends a subconscious signal of being overwhelmed by your clothing. By tailoring the jacket sleeve up just enough to expose that bright, crisp 1/4 inch of the shirt cuff, you introduce a visual break.
Oh, I see.
It frames the hand. It makes the arm look longer and leaner. And crucially, it signals intentionality. It proves the garment was calibrated specifically for your arm length.
Wow, that's such a subtle detail, but it does so much heavy lifting.
It really does. I highly encourage you, the listener, the next time you put on a jacket, just check your sleeves. If the wool is touching your thumb joint, you need to visit a tailor immediately.
Seriously, go right now. It's amazing how much psychology is woven into the hem of the sleeve. But let's move up the jacket to something that seems a bit more complex to fix. The lapels. Ah, the lapels.
The source material points out that extremely wide lapels instantly date a suit to the 70s or 90s. But you can't just, like, take a pair of scissors and snip the edges off a lapel, right?
No, you absolutely cannot do that. The lapel is arguably the most structurally complex part of the jacket. The guide mentions that a tailor can reduce the lapel width, but more importantly, they can improve the lapel roll and reshape the proportions entirely.
Okay, I need you to explain lapel roll because honestly, it sounds like a pastry.
It does sound like a pastry.
What is the tailor actually doing when they improve the roll?
Okay, so think about the construction of a high-quality suit chest. The lapel shouldn't just be folded flat and ironed down against your chest like a piece of paper.
Right.
Inside the front panels of a good jacket, there is a layer of canvas, often made of horsehair. The roll refers to the gentle three-dimensional curve where the lapel folds back from the chest down to the top button. It is essentially a tension bridge.
So it has actual volume and life to it. It's not just flat. Yes. Over time, or honestly with poor dry cleaning where they just press the suit flat in a massive machine, that canvas loses its tension and the roll flattens out, making the jacket look cheap and lifeless.
Oh, I hate that flat, glued down look.
It's the worst. A highly skilled tailor will open up the collar, trim the excess width of the lapel so its edge sits proportionally halfway between your collar and your shoulder seam, and then, and this is the magic part, they will physically press a beautiful, elegant, three-dimensional roll back into the canvas.
That is incredible. They are essentially re-engineering the structural tension of the chest so it sits better on the rib cage.
Precisely.
It's not just altering fabric, it's restoring the actual architecture of the jacket.
And when you combine that restored lapel architecture with the precision of the sleeve length we talked about, the suit suddenly speaks a completely modern language.
So we've reshaped the silhouette, we've dialed in the micro adjustments on the sleeves and lapels. The heavy lifting is done.
The foundation is set.
Exactly. The final concept the source material introduces is about treating this newly tailored suit as a canvas. We are talking about the hardware, the accessories, and the overall presentation. So what does this all mean?
This raises an important question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are your accessories sabotaging your new suit? Because this is where you actually get to inject your personality into the garment and arguably where you get the highest visual return on investment without any major tailoring expenses.
The guide specifically calls out replacing outdated buttons with premium options. And honestly, this is something I never would have thought of. Like, a button is a button, right?
Yeah, I think so, but no.
But if you think about it, cheap plastic buttons reflect light differently. They look shiny, almost brittle.
They absolutely do. Think about high-end custom cabinetry in a kitchen, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't install beautiful, rich mahogany doors and then bolt cheap, flimsy plastic handles onto them.
No, that would look ridiculous.
Exactly. The hardware dictates the perceived value. A beautiful vintage wool suit can be visually dragged down by 4 cheap plastic buttons on the front.
So the tailor swaps those out for what? Genuine horn buttons or mother of pearl?
Yes, genuine horn has a matte, deep, organic texture to it. It catches the light differently. It adds a subtle weight and richness to the front of the jacket.